What's up, fam? Extraordinary Life with Elijah. And this week, the church is my extra, and I am the ordinary. This past weekend, I got to be a part of such a beautiful gathering of the body of Christ at a 3-day weekend retreat where we all met together out at Journey Church, out at the Commons, and spent Thursday through Saturday getting into small groups of 3 to 4 people to co-write worship songs for the church here in the Gallatin Valley. We break off into side rooms together, wrestle with the Spirit over what the large lies are over our valley, over our churches, in our personal lives. And then out of identifying those lies, those attacks of darkness, then press into the heart of God to discover what is the truth of God in those areas? What is God declaring over the valley, over our churches, over our individual lives, over our families? And then wrote worship songs out of those truths in order to sing them to God, to bless his heart and his great worth. I think the most encouraging aspect of the weekend, though, is being able to live out of this reality of the extraordinary life with Elijah reality. That as we came together, the things that were very ordinary for some would become extra for others, and things that were very ordinary in me that other people experienced as extra. And there's just this flow of reciprocal honor where we were honoring one another above ourselves. I think specifically in one of my co-writes that I was with 2 other people, and we were talking about lies that we believed about our own lives, things that God said was true about us, but that we were having a hard time receiving as true identity about us. In specific, one of the people in our group shared how they wrestled with a sense that as they declared things before the Lord in either praying for other people or making declarations from God's promises, that as they declared those things, that darkness would get out in front of them and get there before God established it or God worked. And so that it was better for them to not say anything, because if they spoke, they were going to make things worse. Likewise, then, as I shared about my personal struggle, I shared how it's so difficult for me to join in a congregational context, that out of the hurts that I've received in going through life and engaging with the body of believers, that many of those hurts that I've received, the lie that I tell myself is that I'm not wanted in community, and that it would be better for me if I just stayed at home by myself and just had a one-on-one personal relationship with Jesus. Now, I know that that's a lie. It's a total lie, but it's what I wrestle with. And so as we shared our burdens with one another, the beautiful aspect was that this person, as they broke through that lie, and I shared my hurt with them, the declarations that they began to make in the worship songs that we were writing completely undid me, that their specific declarations were exactly what my heart needed. Darkness was coming in to lie to this person and to attempt to deceive them in order to keep their mouth closed from releasing the gifts of life and of love and of healing and hope that God had for me. In another co-writing session, it was just beautiful. It was a little bit larger group than is normal, and we were wrestling through the story of the prodigal son and writing this communion song of an invitation to come to the table where there was an expression of opulent love and grace and mercy. And as we all wrestled together over these truths, that I talked about how the Father has so many words of love that he wants to speak over us, but that, as Jesus said, that he has more to tell us than our hearts can now bear, and that he's bottling up all of those expressions of love in his heart like fine wine in a bottle that's aging over time to just be poured out upon us at the end of time in just opulent, lavish celebration of his love over us. And as I spoke about those truths and just lived in that expression of Song of Songs and of John and the overflow of the Father's heart by the Spirit, Stephen, who was in our co-write, just pointed at me and said, "That's it. Oh, play those chords. Play the chords. Here, let me sing." And he sang out, "Long held love, building up, standing, patiently waiting." And Daniel just typed them into the computer. Later, as I connected with Stephen, I told him how I was just spending time in that phrase, long held love, and how many things of what God has in me here with Extraordinary Life with Elijah are just building in me, and it's creating just such a longing for all the things that are yet to come, and that it just ministers to me. And Stephen said to me, kind of full of yourself, aren't you? That was your line. But I said, no, it wasn't my line. It wasn't mine. You are the one who said it. And we went back and forth. And as we finally unwound the fact that I had not said the line, but that because Stephen heard what I said and received it by the Spirit, that it awakened in him the line, long held love, building up. And that because of the Spirit, that he had heard me say those lines even when I had not said them. Guys, that's the fullness of everything that I long for in Extraordinary Life with Elijah. That it's extraordinary life lived together by the power of the Spirit. And as we would share these songs with one another, they would just so undo us that people would be weeping or sitting on the floor or hands raised, singing to the heavens. Every day we'd share our songs with one another and just be overwhelmed with the creative expression of God's heart being revealed through his people. And the culmination was gathering together for a community night of worship where God's people came together from all over the valley to sing these fresh expressions of love back to our Father's heart together as a family. And guys, the blessing and the sense and the awareness, the presence of God in our midst was so beautiful. Coming away from the weekend, the only thing that my heart is sorrowful over or is lacking is in the fact that I didn't have the fullest expression of all of my family, that we had family, that we were before the Father, that we were in his house, that we were worshiping and we're giving him gifts of praise and honor and adoration that his Spirit had brought through us, that we had co-created with one another and in the Spirit. And that's so beautiful, but that there was a sense of looking around and saying, it's not the whole family. And I realized that some of you didn't know that it was happening. Some of you were busy, and then some of you are yet to be in the family of God. But that I sensed the lack of your presence. And I so look forward to worshiping and praising God with all of you to a greater and more full extent. And as I reflected, I've been struck with the reality again of how it requires the whole body of Christ expressing the fullness of their gifts in the fullest grace of the measure that Jesus has given to them for us to discover the full expression and fulfillment and satisfaction that we can have in our Father. That Paul says, if all were an eye, where would the sense of smelling be? And if all were a nose, where would the sense of hearing be? And if all were an ear, where would the sense of seeing and taste and smell be? What I take away from that is that uniformity in one expression of the body brings dysfunction, disability, deformity, and an inability to experience the full expression of who Christ is. But that as each of us come together and we give our unique gifts to one another in humility, honoring one another above ourselves, that the result is that there's healing that is for me to find through the declaration of someone set free to live in the destiny that God has for them and being a powerful speaker of truth. And that when they live out of that capacity, that I receive healing that I otherwise wouldn't receive. And as I come to the table and I give the fullest expression of the grace upon my life to others, that others get to hear the very mouth of God speaking in and to and through them in a way that bonds us together such that a person would think, I didn't come up with the lines that I said. They came from you, that there's this intimacy, then this love and this connection that comes in that context of the body of Christ exercising the gifts that they have in community that can't be found in this isolated context of just me staying at home by myself and keeping myself safe. Fam, the overflow of worship, of having spent 3 days in fellowship together, seeking the Lord's heart and having him pour out his Spirit in creative expressions of worship to his own heart to please him that we created together as a community. And then to stand as a diverse group of people together as a family, unified in the Spirit in our Father's house with one intention, to bless his heart. It was heaven on earth. I've seen it. I've tasted of it. I've seen it and I've tasted of it before, but I have to have more, which is why I'm continuing to record my videos, to serve, to please my Father's heart through the exercise of my gifts to impart grace to you so that you can know him more. And together that we can enter into his presence with more and more thanksgiving. If you subscribe to what I am doing, hit the button, hit it, and then get it. Hit the bell as well so you get notified with the new content. And if you loved this video, you didn't just like it, hit the thumbs down button. I pray blessings on your day. I love you guys lots, and I will see you in the next video.